Dr. Marta Carolinas. I'm a pediatrician in Round Rock, Texas. We are here to talk to you about the coronavirus, health advice, nutrition advice, mother's advice. We are 3 moms here. My 3 kids are already adults, but Fair has also adult children, and Veronica has little ones. So we can give you from all perspectives, right, ladies?
Yes, yes, Marta. Hi, everyone. And for Candil, I'm a chef in a catering business here in Round Rock, Texas. A mother of 5 adults. The youngest is 21 and independent, so no more kids for the moment. And yes, I think it's so important to talk about the coronavirus now, like we have our second outbreak. That's very sad news, but it's the real things. And I think it's really good to afford the best way as we can this second outbreak or second peak, whatever you want to call. So I'm so glad we can have Veronica with us. I know she has many questions, especially to Marta. She has 3 little ones. So hi, Veronica, how are you today?
Hi, Marta. Hi, Fer. I'm happy to see you. As every week, you look amazing in your uniforms. You should see them. If you only listen to the podcast, please watch the YouTube videos because they always look amazing.
Thank you.
You do. I love your Spain flag apron. It's amazing. So I'm Vero. I also live in Texas, and I have 3 kids under the age of 5. This summer is being kind of weird because there's not a very big range of activities that kids can do in a safe environment. So kids, so like camps, for example, they were open, summer camps, and then some of them have been canceled because then they found out that there were some coronavirus cases. Same with swimming lessons. They've places that are offering swimming lessons, they are trying to keep it small, like 2 or 3 kids at a time. But I'm still like not feeling very comfortable about sending my kids to those activities. I'm not sure why, but it feels kind of not safe to me. So I'd like to know what the AAP recommendations are about these activities, Marta.
Yes, it's very difficult to make a statement to cover every situation in every part of the country and not talk about other countries because every situation is different, right? So the AAP, the American Academy of Pediatrics, released a statement about starting school and summer camps. And what we learned during the last few months of confinement is that we have created a big socioeconomic gap during these months without a purpose, without even knowing it. Because the access to technology, the access to somebody to help you is different depending on the household. And so even the learning wasn't that good academically. We didn't do that well. And we learned that there's been a lot of anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, all negative impacts, violence, even physical, sexual violence to kids. And so all because of the confinement. So now this organization has to make a statement and say, okay, do we continue this way or we can open up a little bit? Well, they talk about mitigating and not eliminating. And I'm going to emphasize this several times because I think that's the key. The virus is still there. Here in Texas, we thought we were over it. What happened is that we didn't even start at that point. So we're starting now. And we're learning that the hard way. Because when the rest of the world is opening and we thought, oh, now we can go back to normal, now we realize that, okay, we have to be careful. So I think with caution, it's okay if your child doesn't have chronic conditions, if your child is not very, very little one that is, let me tell you this, Veronica, with the pools. In the summer, traditionally, we pediatricians know that the pools are a great place to spread the stomach virus. Kids go into the swimming pool with their diaper. It doesn't matter if it's a swimming diaper, whatever, it's a diaper and it's not perfect. So if we know that traditionally the swimming pools are giving us a lot of visits after, just because of the virus. So this one will probably be a risk, right? And so swimming pools, same thing with lakes, with bodies of water. I don't know about the ocean. I feel more comfortable in the ocean. I just went to Corpus Christi recently, and I noticed that the Gulf water is clean. I never seen it in 25 years that clean.
It's more open, no? So probably it's
Yeah.
not a lot of chemicals. Probably
Right.
some people thinking the chemicals can kill the virus, but I don't think so.
No, well, definitely it can kill the virus and us. So, but the thing is that for some reason, bodies of water, rivers, and it seem to be cleaner these days. But again, we don't know. It all depends. If you have a private pool, is your neighborhood pool is a small neighborhood? Well, maybe, or is your home pool? But going to a place where there's a lot of people, there is always a risk. Camps, summer camps are open. They are under a lot of restrictions in the number of attendants. They have to check temperatures. They have to keep social distancing as feasible as possible, because if you are there is to socialize. So you're not going to be in to play sports. It may be impossible to keep that 2 meter, 6 feet distance, right? So all within reason. If I were a parent of a child going to camp these days, several things. I will ask a lot of questions. What measures are they prepared to take to mitigate? I understand that not to eliminate, that's my risk. I have to take as a parent, have to make a decision. But to mitigate, I want to hear from the camp. What are they doing? How is their personnel, their staff ready and prepare and train to understand and identify illness? What plan do they have if somebody gets sick? How close is the nearest hospital? How far can an ambulance get there? I mean, all these questions that always have been important, but right now they are crucial to at least check what we can. I've seen firsthand what the AP talks about as far as the anxiety, the depression. I have seen it because I've done direct visits with families and also televisits in their house. And I've never in my professional life identified so much stress in families as I'm identifying now. And so you have to evaluate, in the case of your little family, your kids are very little. So just learn, where are you going to send them? What risks are you willing to take? Maybe Julia, I would probably keep her home. But the other two don't use diapers. They are more, probably they're not going to swallow as much water. I mean, it's a decision that you have to make. But the risk is there.
Wow, it's very interesting, Marta. And I have also, because you talk about the precautions and the check to allow the risk of the contagious. And it's very interesting. And I would like you to ask specifically about what do you think on how safe is the temperature? Because it was the first measure everyone took at the airports, the public spaces, but I would like to listen for you, to hear from you. What is your vision, your perspective on using this measure? Probably just a little measure, but it's something, no? I think means something to prevent, as a prevention of the contagious. So I want to hear from you your opinion.
Right. So everybody's nervous about airports, airplanes, places where you have to gather. I mean, if you want to travel somewhere, you're going to have to go with someone if you use public transportation, even if they keep that distance that they should. Temperature. So temperatures go up when we have an infection. It is true that you may be incubating this virus and still don't have a temperature, but also what we know from other viruses, and we assume this one will behave kind of the same. The temperature, when your temperature as a sick patient with the virus goes up, it means that your viral load is high, and it means that the virus is really replicating inside your nose and your mouth, and so your chances of passing it to others is higher. And so that's why the temperature is such a big way of at least eliminating the very, very high risk. And I go back to the mitigate, not eliminate. And so we are kind of mitigating those people who have a fever. They may undergo in the airports, they go on medical exam, they even do a test, or they put them in a hotel and they check on them daily. And it's not only just the temperature, you know, they have that questionnaire that you have to answer, and you have to tell people where you have been, if you have been in contact with anybody, where you travel, and it's up to the individual to be truthful or not. But I think it's in everybody's best interest to tell the truth, because we wanna protect the weakest one, which are the elderly and the people with a weak immune system because of chronic conditions.
Yes, we, like right now, Alvaro had surgery 2 weeks ago, so right now we're going to the occupational therapist every week. And besides from that temperature check screening, we're giving that questionnaire. And as you were saying, we are asked about all the symptoms, like if we had diarrhea, if we've had a temperature, if we had a sore throat, if we've lost the sense of smell or taste. And when we are done with that questionnaire and they check our temperatures and they make sure we are fine, that's when they let us in. And also we are asked right now in Texas to wear a facial cover or a mask every time we are in a public place or every time we go to a shop. As you guys know, there is like this huge movement of people defending their personal right to not wear a facial cover. And I don't really get it, because they don't fight wearing pants, for example. It's like, it's crazy that they fight something that makes everybody good. It's beneficial for us all. So talking about masks, Marta, what kinds of masks we have and which are best, which are not, should they have a valve, should they not, and especially about fabric facial covers, are they worth it, or they make no sense at all? Because some people say that these don't filter almost anything, but I think it's always better to wear something. So from your medical perspective, what do you think about them request to wear masks in public?
Yes, I agree with you that masks protect. It's not 100%. The Center for Disease Control, the CDC, recommends any facial covering. They don't even go into this one or that one. Or common sense dictates that the thicker the mask, the better that filtering capability, right? You're not going to put a material that has holes in it. Traditionally, many years ago, before you were born, Veronica, surgeons used cloth masks in surgery. Yes, they were different layers of but it was cloth that then it went to be washed and reused. And then we learned that that kind of material, you know, when you have a cloth, what you have is a series of threads that go in one direction and a series that goes in the other direction, perpendicular, and it forms like a net, right? And in between those little holes, you can still have particles that are very small, because we're talking about viruses, bacteria, 0.3 to 1 micron. They are very small, and they could still potentially go through. So they came up with these new materials, artificial ones, where the fibers go in different directions. So it's really a net without a structure, and that covers more. Even with the cloth one, if you layer it, then you can get close to that effect. There are professional masks, surgical masks, N95s. We want to think that resources are limited, and maybe if we don't have enough, maybe we should limit them to the healthcare professionals, and the rest of us, and the rest of the public would just use any other kind of mask. They have all kinds these days. I mean, they have cute ones, they have ones that match your clothes, they have some that you can put like a filter in the middle. I heard about, 2 layers of clothing material, and then kind of like a place to put like coffee filter, paper filter, or filters that they sell. Anything, really, a bandana, anything. Just think about it. even before the coronavirus, whenever we had to cough, do you just go and cough in front of the face of the person next to you? No, you covered yourself, you excuse yourself, you move away. Why? Well, because we don't want to contaminate the person with our saliva that may potentially have germs. And so if we did it before the coronavirus, why is it that people resist to do it now? I don't understand. And why is people questions it? I mean, it's a barrier. Again, I go back to the mitigate, not eliminate, and this is one of the measures to mitigate along with the social distancing. I know you had other questions there. One of them was about the valve, right? Some of us that use masks all day, I relate to this. I use glasses, so they really get foggy. It's uncomfortable because I have to keep, cleaning my glasses. Those valves, what they do is they allow your air out, but they don't allow air in. And so they are probably protecting you from somebody next to you talking and spraying and saliva to you, but it doesn't really protect the other person from you. So they are unidirectional valves. They filter only in one direction, in other words. So not as good. I mean, what we try to protect it, what if you are incubating? What if you have been in contact with somebody you don't even know and you're incubating it? And now you go to the store, and now you have this elderly person next to you, or you have this child who is undergoing chemotherapy. We have to think about others. It's not just about us. If you don't care about getting sick, then okay, well, that's your right. Exactly, you're right. But our right is also to remain healthy. And I am very glad that here in Round Rock, finally, they made it mandatory. People need to go into anywhere, any business with a face mask. Yeah.
And I think one important thing to reminder is to wash the mask, especially if they are made with fabric.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw some people to have hung up the mask on the car or on the purse, and it's okay. But I think it's important to remind everyone that you have to wash your mask frequently, just like any other clothes in your wash machine. So I think it's important, no, Marta?
Yes, yes, of course. And some of those disposable ones, they have a life also. So just follow the manufacturer's advice on that. And yes, if it's a cloth mask, definitely you need to wash it. All of us now have several, and we use, like at work, I use an N95 because I am so exposed. And then I have one that is cloth that has like a face of a kitty cat. It's just for the kids. And so that one I had to wash, of course, every time I come home. I wash it and hang it. But, yeah, we can never be careful enough. Definitely.
Wow.
So, for example, we are using them, the fabric ones, cloth ones, and thanks for the reminder, Fer. Everybody should make sure that they clean those on a regular basis. So what about people who are using masks that only are just like one use? I see many masks on the floor, gloves on the floor. Is there a right way of disposing all this material? Because I feel like people are just putting them anywhere. They stop using them and they just throw it on the floor. What should we do with those masks?
Yes, we are now finding those masks and gloves in our rivers, in the ocean. And so something to remember is like with anything we discard. Some people are very careful and others just don't care. But anything that that goes to the floor, eventually the rain is going to bring it to the gutter, and it's going to go to the river, and it's going to go to the ocean, and it's going to impact other lives in many ways. And so we have to be careful with that. So if you are using a disposable one, just put it in the garbage, or it will end up in a field, or it will end up in a controlled place that your city or your government or your local government will decide where the garbage goes for your area, but it won't end up going just directly to the river and contaminating. Yeah, that's a very important, very, very important. But it's as important to be careful with anything that we throw away. I mean, I see people going around in the car and opening the window and throwing, I don't know, a piece of candy wrap or something. I go, I mean, to me, it's just, I don't understand why people are not more careful with what we throw away.
Yeah. More civilized.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, that's a very good question.
Marta, and I have another question. This is about age. At the beginning of the pandemic, the guidelines that we were giving here in Austin were that any kid above the age of 10 should wear a mask in public. But now I think the guidelines are that kids as of 2 years old should be encouraged to wear masks. Obviously, a kid younger than 2 years old, I guess, shouldn't because of safety, right?
Right. Yes. Many reasons. One of them, yes, safety. Kids who are less than 2, they cannot talk maybe clear enough to let us know if they are having difficulty breathing. They may not understand how to tell us or when to tell us, and they may even promote more touching of the face, which is what we try to avoid. So if they have something there, they may be touching their face more. But even older kids, it's something to get used to, and luckily kids are getting used to it, because I remember at the beginning of the pandemic in March, April, the kids, little ones like Julia's age, would come to the office and go, oh my God, and look at us and even cry. Now they don't. They see us with masks, with all kinds of coverings, and they're used to it. They are seeing their parents, they are seeing their other kids. And so we always encourage families to keep trying, keep explaining if it's age appropriate. Show them, put the mask and show them in the mirror so they can see that they are looking like the other kids they see, or the adults. Put a little mask on a stuffed animal. Bring the stuffed animal with you when you have to take the child somewhere, and the child needs to wear a mask. So maybe if the little teddy bear wears the mask, the child will be okay with it. And so those are the little tricks that mothers know, and fathers. And so we can just use your imagination, but definitely, I don't think there is, the American Academy of Pediatrics says age 2. But I understand how maybe if your child is 3, maybe it's just constantly touching the nose, touching the mask, and at that point it may not be helpful. But try.
So before I forget, I have one last question. I must admit that I'm only wearing masks when I'm in a building, or when I go to a shop, when I enter a public building, whenever social distance can't be granted. But I must admit that when we go for walks, we don't wear a mask. So I have this app called Nextdoor, in which all my neighbors post things, updates, comments. There's many people complaining about neighbors don't wearing masks when they are out for their walks. Should we wear a mask when we are outside, like in a big environment and we're not gonna be close to other people? Should we do it or should we not? Because it makes me feel bad when they comment that they don't feel safe if they see someone just walking in the neighborhood without a mask. What is common sense? What should we do?
The way things are now, Veronica, I will say yes. If you were to ask me last month, when we were having few cases and far in between, and not, it looks like if we were going down, then I will say, well, maybe if you're outdoors and you really, I mean, here the population is not as close together as in other countries. So we had to realize that here in America, we don't walk enough, so the streets are not crowded with people set in large cities. But your neighborhood, like my neighborhood, probably, you cross people walking. Some person goes in this direction, the other comes here, and because of courtesy, what I notice when I go for a walk is that we all both distance. So we separate. If you see that you're gonna cross a person, you cannot allow for that 6 feet distance, right? But just think, we are going up now. We have a lot of cases. And who says that maybe the wind or maybe the person who is crossing you maybe starts to cough because cannot avoid to cough and, and then you go by it. So I think at this point, I will say yes, even when you go for a walk, wear a mask because you don't know how many people you're going to encounter and how close you're going to get to you.
Okay,
you're going to get to them.
Thanks. We're going to start using them, sure. I just wanted to know, because I wasn't sure if we were doing it okay, if we were not.
I mean,
so,
because
you know, your opinion means a lot to me. So I think from now on, when we are out for walks, we would take our masks.
I think you were doing it right. The recommendation is, yes, you wear it when you cannot keep those 6 feet, but it's coming to the point that, okay, if you go into a building, you're probably not going to be able to maintain that distance. Or if you go into a store, you're not going to be able to maintain it. Outside is easier, but not 100%. Not 100% because of the situations that I was telling you. I go for walks, so I know, or maybe a neighbor stops you and you start talking and maybe you get a little closer than you should. So I think every precaution at this point, when the numbers are going up, I think every precaution is required.
Yeah, and it's not a big deal, really. You can just like wear it just hanging from your neck, and whenever you see someone, you just put it on, and everyone's safe.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks.
All right, and now, well, we have to make sure that we are eating right there because we have to eat even during the
Yes, we have to eat, and the recipe probably as a Spaniards you have your own recipe because I think it's the most popular dish in Spain is our Spanish omelette, tortilla de patatas. So the ingredients are gonna be 4 eggs, medium eggs or large eggs, medium eggs. I prefer medium eggs, and 5 medium potatoes. I always like 1 more potato of the eggs for the Spanish omelette, and 1 medium onion, olive oil and salt. And if you really like the flavor of the onion, you can reinforce the flavor with onion powder. So it's simple. Just peel the potatoes, peel the onions, cut with your mandolin in slices, very tiny slices is my way. Other people like to cut in H's or in quarters, but I really like to make very thin slices with the mandolin, and just prepare a pan with olive oil. When the olive oil is just heat, no smoke, just heat, place the potatoes and the onions, and let's fry in a medium heat. It's important not to burn the potatoes. I think it's more moisture and the result is really much better when you let the potato and the onions like poché, like cook it slowly and infuse with all the flavors of the onion. So when they are ready, just place in a colander. So all the extra oil just split, and beat meanwhile the eggs, the salt, and the onion powder. You don't have to beat a lot, it's just beat it enough. And after 5 minutes in the colander, the potatoes and the onions, mix with the eggs. It's important to mix very, very well. So the potatoes and the onions has to absorb all the liquid from the eggs. So when they are really like a thick combination or thick paste, and the potatoes are really absorb the liquid from the eggs, it usually take like 7-10 minutes. I prefer more than less. It's just prepare a saucepan with this olive oil we got from the colander. Remember, we had the potatoes and the onions in the colander. You can reuse that olive oil from the potatoes and the onion, put a little on the saucepan, and pour the potatoes and the onion mix in the saucepan. Make the shape with a spatula, whatever tool you have at home and it's easier for you to cook. And you have to turn out. I like to use a pot lid with a handle. but I know many people like to use a plate. It's okay, it's perfect. It's just the only thing has to be totally plain, and it's helping. So it's not a plate for a soup. It's just a regular dinner plate, and just turn out and back to the saucepan. And again, make the shape with your spatula all around the edges of the tortilla. And I like to turn out at least 3 times. I don't like to leave any raw eggs in the middle of the omelette. So at least I like to have turn out 3 times and place in a plate and enjoy. And the tip, if you need to reheat the Spanish omelette and you don't want to dry, because if you put just like that, the piece of Spanish omelette in the microwave, usually the microwave is gonna dry all the eggs and the potatoes, and you lose a lot of flavor. So the best way is take a kitchen towel paper in your hand, like fold in 4 or 2 pieces, put a lot of water, just very wet, okay? Put in your plate the kitchen towel just totally wet, place your piece of Spanish omelette in the middle, and wrap the Spanish omelette like a candy very well, and reheat in the microwave for, depends on how big are the piece you are going to reheat, if it is the whole omelette or just half or a quarter. You have to use your common sense, remember, always in the kitchen. So just 30, 40 seconds. Remove from the microwave, remove your kitchen towel, and the omelette is gonna be totally moisture, like you just cook them. And it's really good. And it's a really good dish for summer. Enjoy with the family. You can bring and to do a picnic in the park, and make sandwiches, even with mayonnaise. I think it's a multi-purpose dish, and we all love in Spain. So I hope you like it and make it. So if you make it, please send me the pictures. I really want to see them.
That is great. Yeah, it's a great recipe. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Marta. Thank you. So thank you everyone for follow us, give us a like, and we hope to see you next week. Thank you, Vero. Thank you, Marta.
Thank you.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Take care.
Thank you.